The basic rule of the uninhabited island exam is actually pretty simple, which is to collect as many points as they can until the last day of the exam. There are two different ways to collect points, which are by reaching the designated area, or doing a bunch of tasks that will be provided by the school in the duration of the exam. I think the anime already explains the wristwatch well enough, so let's just talk about the designation area and how each group could receive points from them. Simply speaking, the entire island will be divided into 100 different squares, and every group will need to move from square to collect points. 4 times a day, each group will get a new designation area, and they need to keep reaching the designation area unless they want to get their point deducted. There will be certain rules regarding how the school will choose their next designation area. For example, if your group's last designation area was D7, there will be 12 different designation area possible, which are 2 squares horizontal and vertical, or 1 square diagonal from your last designation area. The new designation area will appear 4 times a day, and each group will have 2 hours to reach their target before they are considered fail. However, there will be a random designated area that appear once a day that doesn't follow the 12 square rules from before. For example, even if your last designation area was J10, there is a chance your next designation area will be A3, so there will be a chance you need to explore the entire island during this exam. Fortunately, the random designation area doesn't occur twice in a row, so you wouldn't need to worry about crossing the edge of the island twice in a row in such a short amount of time. The designation area will appear 4 times a day, but on the first and last day there will be only 3 designation area, so the total will be 50 for designation area during the entire exam. Each student will be given 1 point every time they reach their designation area, so if you have a group consisting of 7 students and every student manages to reach the designation area, the total points your group will get are 7 points. This is clearly better than the group that only has 1 or 2 students, so it's clear that this exam really promotes their students to form a larger group. The point gained by reaching the designation area is called the basic movement point, but for the top 3 groups whose all member first reach the designation area, there will be extra early bird points. The first group will be given an extra 10 points, followed by 5 for the second group and 3 for the third group. However, if a group somehow is already inside the designation area when it's announced, they will immediately get the basic movement point, but no early bird point will be given to them. For a note, a group that already lost even one of its members wouldn't be able to get the early bird points, but since Sakayanagi has a disability, the school gives her special treatment. Her group will be able to get the early bird point even if she stays on the ship, but she will not get the basic movement point. There are a total of 157 groups at the beginning of the exam, and all those groups will be divided into 12 different tables with different designation points. So there will be at least 13 different groups fighting for the early bird point. For a note, if 2 different groups merge into one big group, the system will automatically pick 1 table for them, so it's possible for a group to get a new set of tables. Your total points and your next designated area can be seen from the wristwatch, but for a higher level analysis, each student is given a tablet where they could see the entire island map and the location of tasks that will appear frequently. What's unique about the tablet is that the tablet could be used by other students, and sometimes the school will give a notification through it, so make sure to not let it run out of battery. The other way to gain points is by winning the tasks that will be held by the school across the island. There are only a limited number of tasks, and they could only hold a few participants, so every group will need to race to get as many tasks as they could. As for what the content of the tasks will be, it will be divided into 3 different categories, which are 40% academic, 30% sports, and 30% other. There will be 30% of different tasks that require a regular skill set such as fishing or anime quiz, so how a group chooses their task will be an important strategy. As for how many points each task will give, it will be different depending on the scale of the task, so once again it will be really important to decide which task they want to pursue. The task will start to appear at the same time as the first designation point at 7 o'clock, and the teachers and school staff are the ones responsible for handling it. Unlike the early bird points, the task only require 1 student per group to participate, so it's possible for a group to participate in multiple tasks at the same time. It's important to note that some tasks have food and water as the reward, so it's also important to check which one you actually need. And now let's talk about how to lose the point in the uninhabited island exam. There are 3 different ways to lose points during the exam, which are designation point penalty, GPS tracker, and merge with another group. Let's start with merging because this is quite an important aspect in this exam. To put it simply, starting on the 4th day, there will be a task that gives an extra slot as the reward. When a group wins this reward, they will be allowed to merge with another group as long as it doesn't exceed the number of extra slots. For example, if a group of 3 win 2 extra slots from the task, they cannot merge with another group of 3, because they will exceed the maximum number allowed by the system. To form a group of 6, they will need to win another slot from the task. Once the extra slot requirement has been fulfilled, one student from each group needs to stick their wristwatch and wait a few minutes until the system combines their data. Once their data has been combined, their new table will be prepared, and their total amount of points will be averaged, so it will be better to merge with a group that has a similar amount of points. Needless to say, the maximum number of students per group is 6 students, but for a group that has a 1 more card, they could form a group of 7 students, but of course they still need to win the extra slot for the 7th person. The second way to lose a point is by using the GPS tracker. Starting from the 6th day, students will be allowed to perform a GPS search to get the location of every student on the island. A student could do a GPS search from their tablet, but each action will cost them 1 point. It is allowed to take a screenshot of the GPS result with your tablet, but the GPS tracker doesn't show the student's coordinate in real time, so if you want to see other student movements, you will need to perform a search multiple times. And the last and most common way to lose points on the Uninhabited Island exam is by receiving a penalty from failure to reach the designated area. If none of the students in a group manage to reach the designation area 3 times in a row, their point will be deducted based on how many times they miss it. For example, failing 3 times means 3 points will be deducted, and if they fail again for the 4th time, an extra 4 points will be deducted. There is no limit on how big the penalty could become, but the counter will reset once the group managed to reach their designation target. There will be no penalty if a group only fails once or twice, and even if it's only one person who could reach the designation point, it wouldn't count as failure, so having only one student reach the designation point while the others go for the tasks is also an option. And now let's talk about another details that could be crucial in the Uninhabited Island exam. For starters, despite all the wilderness in the island, the starting point where the cruise ship docked is actually a really nice place to visit. Students could take a bath, drink water as much as they want, and even buy some equipment if they still have the starting point left. The starting point is different compared to points that they gather during the exam. Each student will be given 5,000 starting points, and they could use them to buy a lot of things such as tent or food. For a note, students who have the Head Start card will get an extra 2,500 points, and daily necessities such as a portable toilet and underwear will be provided free of charge. Another thing that needs to be known is the existence of ranking lists. Starting from the 4th day, each student would be able to see which groups are currently in the top and bottom 10, along with their own current rank. However, this list will no longer be accessible after the 12th days, so it's highly possible that the end result will be different compared to the last ranking. Another reason why the ranking could drastically change in the last 2 days is because for the last day of the exam, every point gained from designation area or task will be doubled. In special cases such as bad weather that make it impossible to continue the exam, the school could also double the points for a certain period of time to compensate for the missing points, so it's important for every student to always check their tablet for school announcements. However, one thing that you need to understand the most is the fact that school surveillance inside the island is really weak. There is no CCTV in there, so even if someone breaks the rules, there will be no solid evidence to prove it. Of course, the school could see the GPS record in case something really happens, but if the students break their own wristwatch, their GPS signal will be off, and they will be practically invisible. Needless to say, if a student break their wristwatch and then beat someone until they were forced to withdraw, their expulsion will still proceed unless they have solid evidence of the culprit. But since this is a big island, incident could always happen without leaving a trace of the culprit, and that's pretty much all you need to know about the Uninhabited Island exam. Some of the rules might sound complicated, but it will be easier to understand if you see it implemented in action, and fortunately, most of the rules are just detail that rarely become the main plot in this series. That's why instead of confusing yourself with the rules, maybe it will better to just enjoy the climax of Season 4, because the sight of Tsubasa wearing a swimsuit and Nagumo flexing his six-pack is not something that you can see every day.